Hey everybody, hope you're well, and it's James here, and today I'm going to talk through my 2019 crypto strategy. So 2018 was not a kind year, unfortunately, in cryptocurrency. We headed straight into the bear market, and there was absolutely no recovery throughout 2018 as such. So we go into 2019, and one thing that I didn't want was I just didn't want to go into 2019 hoping for the best, because that's just a bit silly. I wanted to go into 2019 with some form of strategy that would help me and others sort of find our way through the sort of wild west there is at this moment in time. So I think the first thing is you need to sort of understand and really sort of question yourself. Are you a marine or are you a tourist? Are you here just for the quick bucks and see you later, mate? Or do you really care about cryptocurrency, the blockchain, really sort of behind it, passionate, really want to see it sort of flourish in years to come? And you really sort of got to make that decision. Are you here just for the quick buck in and out? Then you can't complain when things go tits up. Or you're the marine, you're going to sweat it out, you're going to do whatever it takes and sort of be the holdall kind of guys. Now, if you go back throughout the years and everything we know that's happened in terms of this 2-year bang and bust cycle, we know that the guys that just did all the hodling, they did all right out of the whole Bitcoin situation and the coins. Again, if we have a look at some of the key coins that are really starting to, every time we have a bear market, but those coins are still there. There's only about 3 or 4. So it's really sort of concise to sort of look at those coins because they've got a good survival rate as it is at the moment. So I think the other thing is when building a strategy, focusing on facts, something that is consistent, objective, and not base things on opinion. When you start basing things on opinion, you're on a downward slope because opinions don't really account for much, in all honesty. It has to be fact-based, and you really have to put some knowledge in, obviously, all the facts of the market, what's happening, what are the things that are about to play out, because there are some huge situations in 2019 that could sway things massively. I know from early doors I was quite bullish on Bitcoin, but it was down to 3 or 4 factors came into play. None of them did, and obviously we've seen Bitcoin go down. Now, I do think that we can be quite positive in that it will come back. We've seen Bitcoin crashes before. We've seen the highs, we've seen the lows, and if we just have a look back to 2011, we can see this 2-year cycle. We see the highs, we see the lows, but the thing is, every single time Bitcoin gets stronger and stronger. So with this pattern in place, and if we have a look at most things in life, everything is based on patterns and cycles. And I just think that we are part of a cycle right now. And some people came in at the wrong point of the cycle, and some people came in at the great part of the cycle. And that's really that simple. That's what happened. And depending where you came in depends if you're in profit, if you're sort of broke even, or you're hemorrhaging some huge losses. Now, I would say, looking at these tables, it's generating a pattern which continues to happen every single time. So for me, I'm going to follow the pattern because it's already in place. I don't have enough coins or anything like that to be able to change any patterns. That's the big thing. I can't manipulate the market or anything. I'm just a small investor. And here, I just have to read the patterns. The other thing is I think there's going to be a change around how ICOs run. I think there's a lot more regulations will come in, and I think a lot of people will move towards a security token. However, moving to the security token will potentially mean that some of the smaller investors can't get in because, especially in America, the accredited investor piece where you have to have like £1 million in the bank type thing. So you're not going to be able to get in maybe some of the other projects. However, if some of these are the top 10 VC funds, and if some of those guys come in, then this could be a game changer, because we all know there's backs that won't probably implement for at least another 12 months or so before we see the sort of fruits of the labor there. However, there is some positive intent, I think, in the marketplace. I just think that there's something that's happened that's never happened before. It's where the smaller investors have, one, created a market, and two, first to get all the gains, like these 20,000, 30,000 gains. Normally the big boys would all be all over this and they would be first. So they don't want to pay top dollar for Bitcoin. And because I think the market can be manipulated so much, we're seeing a lot of this currently. So one of the places I wanted to start with some of the fact finding was, how many patents are in place? When were they done? Who is the sort of the majority who's been putting them in? So I've got a good idea of who's who and really who has a stake in the market. Maybe if they're not stating it, but they definitely do. Now there are 5,800 patents currently for blockchain. Now most of these were done and submitted in 2015, so we're talking some time ago here. Now there were three big players. The first one was IBM. I think probably people are all aware that IBM is a big player and they've come out quite positively about blockchain and that technology. The other one was actually MasterCard. Now again, MasterCard have sort of given that impression they may not, and messed around a little bit. A few projects they said they were working with them, then they weren't. But these guys have a lot of patents in the marketplace. So they've, this is some of the companies that we thought that maybe not be so interested. But the real interesting one for me is JP Morgan. JP Morgan have a ton of patents in. And obviously they've come out and said, no, we don't believe in cryptocurrency, none of this business, all the rest of it. Jamie Dimon, we know, we've seen the biggest pump and dump ever. And the thing is, these guys are heavy into this. They're playing it down so much. They're playing sort of dead dog, if you will. They're playing dead, oh yeah, oh we're gonna die and all the rest of it. And then all of a sudden they will rise from the ashes like a phoenix. And before you know it, they'll be the big daddies in the market. They'll be manipulating all the rest of it. So I think we need to be very careful in terms of what we hear, what we see, and what people do is the most important. What people do is the most important to what they say. People can say anything they want, but it's what they do which will be really important. So when I was looking at my strategy, I was trying to think, is there anything in history that has been controversial, has struggled, regulations have put like a kibosh on things, and the big thing I come up with was the UFC. Now, the UFC, I'm a massive fan, and I was watching the 25-year anniversary, and it went through all the challenges that they had to go through to become what they are today. And it just reminded me of cryptocurrency. They started off and people didn't want to, they were saying people didn't want to watch it. They absolutely love this stuff. But it was like, oh, we can't have this on telly. They got on telly and they got taken off. Everybody was against them. And it was really hard to sort of get that traction with the UFC. And then they had to face into regulation, the rules, the athletic committees. They had to go through all of these processes. Now, the big thing is if we have a look at the success of the UFC, it's one of the greatest stories out there in terms of athletics. Going from 2001 of $2 million of what they paid for it to $4 billion in 2016. That is a 2,000% return. I'm sure the Fertitta brothers and Dana White are doing handstands everywhere. Happy boys, that's all I can say. But again, they sold out in 2016. It's a 15-year period. It was a long-term grind. And I think this is what we're seeing now in cryptocurrency. We had the big spike, excitement, and everybody blew their load. And now, everything's bounced back to reality. It's the day after the hangover, and we need to wait to get better slowly. And I think that's what's going to happen to the market. So there are three key factors, I believe, that must happen before cryptocurrency is really taken seriously. The first one is mass appeal. Now, with most of these things, and again, if I go back to the UFC, I can use Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor brought mass appeal to the UFC. And there's several other superstars, Ronda Rousey, Anderson Silva. And really, cryptocurrency needs that. It needs a couple of coins that really stand head and shoulders above the rest and become the superstars and really gain that mass appeal with everybody. Easy access and use is another key element. If we can't make it so easy that your nan can't use it, then nobody else is going to really use it either. It needs to be really simple. Once it's really simple, it will get that mass adoption. People will start to use it, and before we know it, it'll just be integrated. And 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you know, we'll look at people say, you know, cryptocurrency, if we didn't have that, you crazy dude, if we couldn't live without that stuff. And it'll be a little bit like that. I think the other thing is heading into regulation, really sort of stepping into that arena, making sure that everything gets regulated, because the amount of times that I've seen people get caught with, you know, some of the scams out there and stuff, you know, it was heartbreaking. I was watching a video about a guy who had an autistic son, and I have an autistic son, so I related to this guy, and he put his life savings in to be able to get his son these treatments, and he wanted to, you know, use the money to really help him, and it was a heartbreaking story because he put all his money in, and they promised loads of stuff, and it was a mining company, and before he knew it, all his money had disappeared. All that hard effort that he'd put in to sort of trying to help his son, trying to do the right thing, maybe greed got the better of him or whatever it was, but he ended up losing all his money because it was a scam. If there was regulations in place, that wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have lost his money, and he wouldn't be in that position right now. So I do feel incredibly sorry for that guy. If I won the lottery, I would definitely send him some money to help his son, because I think I look at those things and it's heartbreaking. It really is, to hear those sort of stories. So I really am passionate about getting some form of regulation in place to ensure that it protects people, because that's what it's there for. And not only that, once we have that, then we'll see the bigger cats come into play. So let's move into my strategy for 2019. So the first area that we're going to look at is education. Now, we're in a period where there's maybe not a lot going on. So this is the perfect downtime to start learning about maybe some of the other coins that come up, maybe some of the protocols that are already in place. The other things that you can do is start doing some reading. A couple of books that I've read recently, one is Principles by Ray Dalio. So if you don't know who Ray Dalio is, he's absolutely huge. He is one of the largest hedge fund managers, and he doesn't believe in crypto, by the way, but the key core principles of what he does will really help you in terms of the like decision making, and that's huge. Not getting carried away, all the rest of it. But Ray Dalio Principles, a really good book. My next book recommendation is Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So here it is. You know, this is all about risk. I'm quite a big risk taker. It's got to be said. You know, it wouldn't be in cryptocurrency. I think anyone in cryptocurrency has a tolerance for some form of risk. Now, I'd really sort of encourage you to have a read of this book, and in the meantime as well, get on some of the trading courses, learn some of the, you know, different things like Fibonacci charts, all these type of things. Try and build your skill set, so when the market does pump again and then goes down, you're going to be a lot more prepared, and you can only do that through educating yourself. The second strategy for me is tethering out. Now, you know, you can use any type of stable coin. I've just picked Tether because it's one of the biggest. And don't be afraid to transfer your investments into Tether to obviously ensure that you don't lose some of the value that you've already got. Because the thing is, you can sort of tether out and say a certain coin, the price will be held, and then the price of the coin that you came out of will go down and down and down, and then you can jump back in and get more coins. So when it does eventually go back up, you're going to be better off because you'll have more tokens, and you can use Tether to do that. With other cryptocurrencies, they're so volatile at the moment that I'd be using Tether to do this. The third part of my strategy, which I've been doing for some time now, is trade accumulation. I know in this sort of period of time that maybe not a lot of people will come to the market and trade just because it is so volatile and unpredictable, but at the same time, that creates huge opportunities. Now for me, I've been looking at Funfair. That was one I had on my list. So for that particular coin, I set myself a target of trying to trade up to 1 million coins. Now, before we start, I did start with about 250,000 coins. Today, I think I'm up to 1.18 million. And that's just through trading the spikes. And as we can see here, we can see that there are key spikes. Now, maybe I've got lucky with these spikes, I don't know. However, I'm just constantly watching the market, and I'm constantly watching for these left-right combo positions that are happening. I mean, there's a little bit of a false start in the middle there, and then a huge one. I think it went up by like 70 or 80%. Sold out in the 170s there, and made a huge killing. And then it came back and it got back into round about an average of the 120s, which is sitting at right now, and that's after some period of time. So again, you just got to pick your moments. And if we have a look at something like Stellar, So I've been trading on LA Token, which is obviously a new exchange I've been using. You know, they're just like flash drops all the time. So where we've seen on Funfair, we've seen the spikes, which is great, so you can trade in and out, but then you can use some of those profits and, you know, trade something like Stellar twice in the last month. It spiked down in LA Token, therefore I'm going to try and maximize all these opportunities. Now this is going to take some time for yourself to go through different exchanges, looking at different coins, studying and finding out where some of the patterns are and where you can take advantage of them. So the next thing I want to do in 2019 is balance my portfolio. Now, this is really simple. I'm going to break it down for you. 40% core coin. That's what I'm holding, and that's what I'm holding in 2019. The reason for that is I believe that the core coins will hold their value. I don't think they'll grow as much as maybe some of the altcoins, but these will definitely be a little bit more stable. And I break these down into two categories, primary and secondary. And the only reason I break them down into those categories is because I hold a lot more of the top ones. So a whole lot of Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Stellar. And Stellar is a recent one that I've really brought into the portfolio. Then on secondary coins, got Cardano, Binance, Dash, Neo. Now I own a smaller chunk of these, however, I still have a really nice amount. I think for me, coin that's really stuck out is the Binance coin. It sort of weathered the bear market better than others, shall we say. The next thing is I have 40% in altcoins. Now again, I have primary and secondary coins. The primary ones where I'm really sort of bullish on, so we've got BAT, Funfair, Substratum, Amon, 10x, you know, the payment side, once those cards are available and it's looking like it's Q1, Q2 of 2019, that will really start to get some traction. Now, I don't think people will spend if the price isn't up, but then you might see people panic spend where they just want to get their money out and they might start using it. So there's a couple of dynamics that could happen there. And then I've got secondary coins where there's some other projects that I've held for a long time and I'm just a big believer in the technology, things like Civic, Komodo, Utrust, Ontology, Robinhood. I'm just quietly bullish about those particular coins. Then I have 10% in ICOs and the really, really high risk stuff. If you don't think this is risky already, then you know this is super, super risky. Now, we've already seen that probably about 90% of ICOs will not make it. That's the facts. And also on the back of that, 80% don't even make it to an exchange. And that's really the bread and butter. Like, you could have a complete nail, but if you can get to exchange and you can at least get some money out, you haven't done too bad. But however, there will be projects still coming through that will do incredibly well. And a lot of my thinking is around that a lot of the ICOs that have already happened have been pretty much spanked because they got collected all this money, say $20 million, and then we've seen the price of things like Ethereum's gone down nearly 90%. So their portfolio, you know, they might have raised 20 million, but now they're only sitting on like 4 million, and they would have cashed a couple out to obviously cover costs and stuff, and they're sitting on a very, very small amount of cryptocurrency. And that's a bit of a problem because a lot of projects, even good ones, will start to fail because they just don't have that capital in place, or they will start to gain or try and get even more funding and give away more of the coins to be able to get other investors in. And at the moment, we're seeing a lot of VCs come in. So if a particular project right now raises 16 million, they're sitting on 16 million, and next year they'll be sitting on 16 million because it's all coming in cash. And it's from these VCs, so it's in large sums. And I've seen this across a lot of projects recently where they've been getting like 2, 3, even 4 million a time from these VC funds, which has really been pushing them forward. And a lot of, you know, people say ICOs are dead, but there's still ICOs collecting quite a lot of money. But I do think that these are the real high risk elements, but they also have some of the best returns as well. Then I have a 10% trading pot. Now here I've mainly traded in just Bitcoin and Ethereum, and probably more heavily in Bitcoin more recently. Now in my portfolio currently I have 52 different coins, which is just a little insane actually, and I need to condense that down to about 30. So the big thing I will be doing is constantly rebalancing my portfolio. Probably going to do that every 3 months to ensure that I stay at a balance of around about 40% core coins, 40% altcoins, 10% sort of ICO high risk stuff, and then at least 10% so I can constantly trade and take advantage of those opportunities in the market. So the big thing for me will be quality over quantity. Now, For me, there are so many big swings and unpredictability in cryptocurrency at the moment that I want to try and take advantage of those swings. So when it goes up 70, 80%, be holding those coins. And thankfully, because I do hold so many coins, I do have a bit of play, at least 3 or 4 go off each month, which allow me opportunities to trade out, trade back in, and accumulate. So there has been sort of smaller moves, like 5, 20, 30% that I've been playing, and even some bigger ones. But there are also the smaller 1 and 2%. I won't be dealing with that anymore. I'm not really interested. I just want to work with the big swings. And also from a content point of view for next year, like the courses that I've got planned and everything else that I'm doing is all going to be quality over quantity. I don't want to bang out a whole bunch of shit that nobody's going to watch. I want it to be quality so people get some tangible value out of it. As always, guys, I really do appreciate you tuning into the channel. I hope that you have a great 2019, and I hope this strategy helps. The big thing to always remember is that, yes, this is a strategy. It's in place to help you, but if the market changes very drastically, then don't be afraid to amend the strategy. But hopefully that just gives you a little bit of a structure and something to go away with that will help you in the future with your cryptocurrency portfolio. I'm feeling